gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 23rd, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt Shodell, the time is now to talk about Tyler Van Dyke. It is Tyler Van Dyke Day at CaneSport.com as we take a deep dive into what we have seen from Miami's star quarterback so far this season. Talk about the perceptions of him on the national stage, which I think people are going to maybe be a little bit surprised, have not really taken that big of a hit, and just try to break the whole thing down. So we start out today with an analysis of Tyler's season thus far. We go back to the film, we chart every one of his throws, and it might surprise folks how many weren't on the numbers, even when he wasn't pressured. There's something going on, whether it's mechanical, whether this offense is increasing the mental strain on him. Quite frankly, going through progressions, and it's taking away from his physical performance. But Tyler Van Dyke has not been able to match his ability level of a year ago, and that's becoming a little bit of an issue for this team, particularly when you think about the Texas A&M game. And if he had been able to make a little bit of a difference, maybe Miami wins that game, and maybe he's able to compensate for some of the other problems that cropped up with drop balls, with the muff punt, the missed field goals, et cetera, et cetera. Your thoughts?
Well, so it was. I was the one who who had the joy of going through and watching every one of Tyler's passes. And it's funny when when Mario was asked about Tyler earlier in the week, he referred to, I think, 44 passes, and the stats show that Tyler threw 41 passes, and I charted 45 passes because there was 4 passes he threw that wound up not counting, which is fine. But we included those also because he threw the pass, and yeah, I think there was maybe one play where it was a free play, and that one they negate that counted because they didn't take the penalty because it was complete. But anyway, the point being, we really want to get a good idea of if the perception of how Tyler performed matched the reality of how Tyler performed. Because, Gary, when you and I are watching the game, we're not just watching Tyler, That's not really what we do. And even when you watch Tyler live at the stadium or even on TV, you get these little snippets. And when you slow it down and go, and let me tell you, it took hours and hours and hours. It took, honestly, a full day just looking at the tape for me. For the average human being, it would have taken 3 weeks. And you slow down each clip, and then you replay it and replay it and replay it until you sort of see what actually was happening, and was he pressured or not? Did he have a clean pocket? How was the play designed? All this other stuff. What I wound up you could have written, I could have written a 500-page book about the game by the time I was done with this, but I tried to keep it simple. So what I really tried to focus on was not, people say, 12-yard gain, 30-yard gain on a pass. What I looked at was where did the pass go? Was it within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and how often did that happen? Were they trusting Tyler to throw the ball downfield? They were not. The numbers back that up, and he threw 20 passes within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Okay, and he threw 5. One was incomplete to an interference, but 5 that went 21 yards or more. And if you look just within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, if we add all those up, it's, I got to do my quick math here. It's 8 plus 28 passes. So 28 of 45 were within the first down marker. That's not really attacking down the field, right? So there was that, which was the perception, and that was reality. And then the other perception was that Tyler was off target. Well, was he really off target? Was he being pressured when he was off target? And of the 45 pass plays, on 11 of them, or about 25% of them, he had a clean pocket and just didn't hit the numbers. Now, for me, with Tyler, because Tyler's Tyler, if it was sorry, Kirby Freeman, but if it was Kirby Freeman, like if you can get your hands on the ball, I would call that on target. For Tyler, I wanted it in the wind. Well, I can't show it on here, but I want it in the window of your body, right? I want it to where you're not reaching backward to catch a pass, not reaching up over your head, not having to go down unless he meant it to be down because, there was a guy in tight coverage, which the one low pass that really should have been incomplete, by the way, that should not have been that low, that pass. So those I considered, off target. And so there were 11 of those, and there was, I think, 3 where he was under pressure and threw an errant ball. And the weird thing with Tyler, and this dates back to last year, he seems to throw more accurately when he's pressured, which is super weird. I don't know, call me crazy. That's just what I believe that's true. It just seems like when there's somebody in his face or whatever, he just gets the ball out at a different angle, and he just I don't know if he just forgets about any of the, maybe he's overthinking his mechanics when he's just in the clean pocket. I don't know. But there's something mental going on with him for sure. For sure.
He's trying too hard. That's one thing. That's one of my theories. He's trying too hard. I think his whole life is different than it was a year ago. Way more distractions, agents in his ear, NIL deals, talk of the NFL draft, talk of the.
Yeah, what about his quotes? What about his quotes being taken out of context? They didn't even use the end quote, which was, "And because there's no fans, I am going to help Mr. Ruiz build a new stadium." They didn't even include that part of the quote. It was just so disrespectful.
Yeah, he got himself in I'm trying not to cast too much judgment on that without knowing the full story.
He was just trying to say that he likes playing on the road and he got carried away,
Yeah, it just
I feel bad for Tyler. He did the same thing last year. Remember last year he didn't mean what he said, or he didn't mean how it came out. I think it was which game was that?
It came out wrong.
Yeah, where he basically said, we're going to win. With God forbid a player says we're going to beat this team.
Yeah.
You have my word that we're going to beat them. Whatever, something along those lines. But yeah, it wasn't a great week for Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah, well,
so anyway, if you read the story, we break down each of his passes in the minutia. We have some clips, GIFs, because you're not allowed to use the actual footage. But we have GIFs of some of the throws, so you can sort of see what happened. And some of it honestly was a little bit inexcusable, especially Mike Redding, by the way, had a terrible game. There was balls that weren't thrown right at him, but that could have been caught. And he wasn't getting separation. There was one play.
Did he have 3 drops, I believe?
Looked to me like at least 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, right.
And the one time he was wide open, literally these receivers were not wide open, okay? And the one time that Mike Redding was totally wide open, Tyler threw it nowhere near him.
Missed him, right?
Yeah, threw it 3 yards in front of him. It was just you'd say a comedy of errors if you're a Shakespeare fan, but I mean it was pretty close to that because just nothing seemed to go right for a team that really won every measurable statistic in the game, whether it's first downs, time of possession, total yardage. They didn't win turnovers, but they killed themselves. They beat themselves in the red zone. Tyler had some bad passes at the wrong time. They had some drops at the wrong times, and that was the result.
Now, look at this. Here's another one of my theories. Let's look at this play for a minute. Okay, so it's a simple 3rd down pass. Okay, they're driving. Henry Parrish could not have been more wide open. Okay, he catches that ball. If he doesn't score, he's inside the 10 for sure. And Miami's got first down. Okay. I believe that plays on the mental psyche of Tyler Van Dyke. And it keeps him
that play?
That's only one example. That was just one example. I'm talking about all these drops and not having.
Oh, that it makes him more stressed out, you mean?
It certainly doesn't make him comfortable. And, it certainly doesn't make him not have a greater awareness of who he's throwing the ball to. And, Henry Parrish, from what I had seen in practices in spring and fall, was typically a pretty reliable receiver. I've never seen Henry Parrish drop a ball like that. Okay.
I'm sort of torn about it because, I've seen quarterbacks at Miami who in the game will go up to players and you could say get in their face, but at least talk to them. And Tyler, just every time you looked at Tyler, he wasn't around anybody saying anything to anybody. He was like in his own world. And I would have liked to see him sort of fire up some of these receivers, or at least tell them, forget about it. You know, we got this game. You better get your head out of your, butt, whatever, just something. He just looked like I don't want to say deer in the headlights because it wasn't that, but he looked just like, he just looked blank. He just looked like he had no emotion whenever you looked at him. No emotion, like a mask. Well, I mean, football's an emotional sport, especially a quarterback. You got to let guys get pumped up and fired up, and I'm coming to you next time, be ready, and that sort of thing.
This is a bigger problem than I think any of us quite understand, in my opinion. I think that all these months of drop passes have really impacted the psyche of this team, the confidence of the receivers and in the receivers. They don't have receivers. They just don't. And I know it's harsh, but I've been saying this for months, and I think everybody is starting to see now what I've been talking about. They have a big fundamental problem, and it just led to one loss, okay? I'm going to throw out something else crazy. Xavier Restrepo's absence on Saturday night was the difference in that game. I think Restrepo's absence was 7 to 10 points difference for Miami. I really do. And I know if Tyreek doesn't make the mistake, if Borregales doesn't miss the 2 field goals, even with all the drops, Miami still wins, and I get it and all that. But I'm telling you that, and it's not that Restrepo's all world, but he is the best receiver on this team, and his absence was a big deal the other night, and it's going to be a big deal. I mean, he's going to be gone 6 weeks. I mean, they're going to have to overcome his absence for 6 more weeks. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, should they obviously be able to beat Middle Tennessee State? Yes. But there aren't too many of these games that are going to be walks in the park. I mean, you got to go on the road to Virginia. I don't know that that's going to be such a walk in the park. You're going to have to score points more than likely to beat North Carolina at home in 2 weeks. Where are those points going to come from if you can't complete passes to the wide receivers? And I just see a mentally defeated, I won't be a drama queen and say team, but I do see a mentally defeated receiver core. I'll tell you that. I mean, I was totally thrown, Matt, by this play, the last one of the game for Miami. Yeah. When Tyler Van Dyke hits Brashard Smith right in his hands, it just goes through his hands. He doesn't come close to catching the ball. And wow. Look at his reaction, Matt, at the end of the play. Watch it one more time. Look at it. Boom. Okay, game over. Miami loses. Oh, well. Oh, shucks.
Well, here's the problem with that play, okay? And, you and I don't talk that much about who's dropping what in practice, Gary, but Brashard Smith dropped more balls in the periods that we watched in practice that I was shocked when Mark Cristobal started talking about how great Brashard Smith was. And yeah, he's fast, but he dropped more balls than anyone else in the fall. Why are you putting him in the most pressure-packed situation when you know he's got a problem with drops?
Like, that was the flaw on Saturday night. I totally agree with you. And the mistake that they made was not accepting, maybe is the right word, accepting that this is a weakness that they have. And you knew this going into that game. And you needed to adjust to the fact that is simply going to be a weakness. Stop believing that you are going to change it, even if they have a good day of practice here and there. You are going to have these drop balls in every game, most likely, because we saw it at almost every practice. And we haven't been allowed out there very much lately.
for good reason. I can't imagine what we'd have been witnessing.
Yeah. But, I feel for Mario. He wants to win every game, pours his life into it. But the one huge mistake they made on Saturday night was they didn't compensate for their downfalls, their shortfalls. If they had, they're not counting on Brashard Smith in that situation. If they had, Michael Redding's probably not getting as many reps as he gets.
Listen, forget the.
They have to change their offense, in my opinion, if this is going to keep happening, or they are going to destroy their season. It makes no sense to have a quarterback that people think is going to be a first-round draft pick in April who doesn't have anybody that'll catch the ball.
The problem is that coaches all coaches, not just Miami coaches, believe it's like your family, right? You always think your son's the nicest guy in the world, your daughter is the nicest person in the world, and no one's ever going to tell you, oh, they're the bully in school, or oh, they're not nice. And Miami coaches and coaches around the country always think their players are the best players, that they're the best. The best Brashard Smith is who's going to show up, not the Brashard Smith who dropped 10 passes over a 3-day span period we saw in the fall. The guy who caught the ball for 2 practices in a row, that's the guy who's going to show up. And coaches, that's just sort of, this is the lull of, or whatever the word is, where where you just feel a sense of security that shouldn't be there. And to me, if Josh Gaddis had just gone more to what he did in the second half with Will Mallory and did more with Elijah Arroyo instead of just using him as a run blocker, I think they would have been in better shape, because those are your 2 best, most reliable pass catchers. One of them should have been on the route that would have been the first read for Tyler Van Dyke on the play Brashard Smith dropped, because that ball is going to be 50-50 catch or not in that situation, to Brashard just having seen what happened in the fall when there was no pressure and just one-on-one quarterback throwing a receiver down the field with no defense even there. You put him in that situation at the end of the game on a 4th down play with the fans going nuts, and he's got to catch the pass with a guy in his back. That's a 50-50 to me, even with the ball hitting him in the numbers. And it was a 50-50. But it's on, at the end of the day, it's not Brashard Smith's fault. It's the Miami coach's fault for putting someone in that situation who has been having problems with drops all fall camp. And when you have other guys who are tight ends, who are your best, most reliable veteran pass catcher in Will Mallory, Will Mallory's going to catch the ball if it's anywhere near him. That's the guy who I think should have been option A. If it's 4th and 4, 4th and 20, I don't care right now. Will Mallory's my guy to make that play, because Keyshawn Smith has done nothing to prove that he should be as good as I thought he would be. Mike Redding is not getting open, and there just seems to be a disconnect with Tyler being able to judge his speed or lack of speed. I don't know, but he doesn't seem to know where the heck Redding's going to wind up. Brashard is great, but has a problem holding on to the ball sometimes. And those are your top 3 receivers.
And Restrepo's home getting treatment, trying to get back.
Top 3 receivers. So if I was shocked, I honestly was shocked that the tight ends, Elijah Arroyo has the one great catch and that's it. I think they had one other throw to him the whole game. Will Mallory, they got involved in the second half. Well, what about the first half? Those 2 guys, and I said it before the game, those should have been the featured guys in this game. That's why you didn't show the tight ends these first 2 games, because we know how good they are. Let them go do it. Let them block for the run game, but they don't need to take a rest on passing downs and just do these little sideways routes. You could give them down the field routes and let them get matched up with a linebacker and a safety and make a play. There's nothing wrong with that.
And you do have to throw the ball to the receiver sometimes, or else.
I'm saying not to, but they.
No. I know you're not.
Even though Will Mallory led the team in receiving, he could have been targeted twice as much, and Elijah Arroyo certainly could have been targeted at least 5 to 7 times instead.
Those are your 2 best guys. If I'm going down on the road to Texas A&M, I'm going down throwing it to those 2 guys. And they were keying on the backs. Parrish had that wheel route. The linebacker was all over him. Every time Knighton flared out, there was somebody on top of him. That was a key focal point of Texas A&M's defense. So they took the passing game with the running backs out of the game.
Let me tell you something. When you watch the tape, which I did for way too long, every single time there was a play action, okay? I'd say 90% of the game, Texas A&M rushed 4. There was a few blitzes. There was a 4 or 5 3-man fronts, generally in long yardage and 3rd and long, that sort of thing. But the majority of the time, it was a 4-down line. And whenever they did a play action, there was 3 other guys rushing up to the line in the box, rushing up. And they didn't care. They weren't worried that Miami might pass the ball. They were not worried. And Miami never did anything to force them to be worried. The entire game, that's what Texas A&M did. Miami, Josh Gaddis never figured out a way to get them to stop doing it. Wow. And even with them doing that, the run game was successful, but they still couldn't get a pass game going behind that. It was shocking to me watching the tape that they could just go one-on-one so often. And I haven't marked how many one-on-ones. It was a way higher percentage of one-on-one in the zone. I don't have it on my screen right now. But I think there were, Tyler was 0 for 5 or 0 for 6 in the first half against the zone. And and he had a little more success against the zone in the second half. But like Texas A&M didn't say, "Oh, let's stop doing man-to-man," because the first half we did so well in zone. They really went man-to-man most of the game because they wanted to throw those guys up on the line when there was a play action. That's the only reason for it. And you know what? Tyler and the receivers just didn't make them pay. Josh Gaddis didn't make them pay. And as much as I said it wasn't Josh Gaddis' fault in the red zone because we analyzed that, it was Josh Gaddis' fault in the game plan. When you score 9 points and you don't use the tight ends as effectively as I think they could have, no matter how well you run the ball, that's on the offensive coordinator to me.
Well, let me tell you something. In 2015, okay, the New England Patriots had a shortage of receivers. And they had a similar problem to what Miami has right now. You know what Bill Belichick did?
I think you already talked about this on the show, Gary, but I'll pretend I have a short-term memory loss.
Did I say that he went to a four tight end
yeah, you did.
package on offense?
You had it last week.
All right, well, I'm going to bring it up again because you have to be able to adjust to your personnel, and they have to look at all this stuff. I think that Skinner is an obvious guy, even though he's dropped.
I asked Mario about him, and he's going to use him, so that's great to hear. I think that's the next missing piece.
Except for one thing, he's dropped a lot of balls.
I know. I don't want to say that. You just jinxed him.
He has dropped a lot of balls out there that we've seen, which means he's dropped a lot that we haven't seen too. And that's going to be a continuation of the same problem. But they don't have bodies. They don't have choices. And I'll tell you, I would not beat up Parrish and Knighton this weekend. I would be throwing the ball a lot against this team.
Well, by the way, I want to see more Thaddeus Franklin because you watch that tape also. I mean, as good as the numbers were, those guys were just going down right and left whenever they got anyone near them or body on them. So
the problem with Franklin is he doesn't have speed. So
that's okay. The guy averages 5-6 yards a carry.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We have never seen him do it against that level of competition. We'll have to see. But I would use him a lot this week. I totally agree with you.
By the way, red zone offense, the guy who goes down, on a little shoestring tackle attempt from behind, that's not what Thaddeus Franklin goes down on. That's a good guy to use to me in the red zone. And I honestly, I hope also that Gaddis starts using 2 running backs at a time. There's no reason you can't. That is so much harder for defense to figure out is if you have a running back who then motions to the slot, or even if you can use him in so many different ways. You can line one up a receiver, bring him around for an end around, whatever. And they haven't done that because when you have 2 really good running backs, you can only play one at a time, and you also have Thaddeus Franklin. I mean, there's a lot of different things and a lot of ways to use those guys. And I just feel like I was a little disappointed that after the first 2 vanilla games, I felt like there wasn't that much different we saw out of Miami's offense against Texas A&M. Like I thought, okay, they're saving up all this great stuff for the tight ends. Okay, they'll start using 2 running backs, all these crazy formations to confuse Texas A&M, get them, whatever, make Texas A&M call timeouts because they've never seen this formation before. I'm like so ready for Miami to finally be that team where the other team's like, oh, we didn't see this on tape. We were shocked, and it took us 3 series to figure out what they were doing. Like, I want to hear that instead of Miami saying that about some of these other teams that come in once in a while.
Yeah, I think the problem there was when Chaney and Citizen got hurt. Now their running back depth is shot, so they've been trying to, platoon Parrish and Knighton. They each, I think, had one had.
Come on, man! You got to listen. You got to do everything to win that game. I don't care. You don't.
I understand. I understand. I mean, I get it, but like you're also talking about having to change a lot of your offensive concepts and stuff. So that you worked on in spring and early in fall. So I mean, it's not the easiest thing. They have an open week coming up here, and they need to get this offense figured out in this open week. North Carolina can score. Okay, they put 63 on that App State team that won 17-13 against Texas A&M. I mean, North Carolina put 63 on those guys, scored 48 points, I believe, in the fourth quarter. Okay, that team can score. Miami is going to have to score in that game. They have 2 weeks here to get ready and figure out.
Isn't it funny the Coastal went from being so awful now everyone's like, oh wow, every team's good except for Duke. It's not true, Gary. Okay, it's not true. Pittsburgh's not that good. North Carolina's okay.
We're going to find out this weekend. They play Notre Dame.
I've been saying Virginia's a sleeper team in the Coastal since before the season. I still believe that.
Yeah.
FSU's better than I think people thought. for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, just talent wise, but we'll see.
We'll see. But anyway, so while all this is going on, Tyler Van Dyke, the perception of Tyler Van Dyke outside the program really hasn't changed very much. Mel Kiper came out with his fall draft forecast. I guess he did it Thursday, and he still projects Tyler Van Dyke, Matt, in the first round. I think he said the 20. Let's see. I pulled it up here. He's projecting him to go 21st in the first round. Surprised by that?
Yeah, well, we had an interview with a prominent Miami Hurricanes offensive player yesterday, and just so you all know, it was a fifth string walk-on running back from 24 years ago. I know people were wondering. So anyway, he said Miami has not had a quarterback that can make throws like that ever, maybe ever.
No, not ever. But yeah, but he has a very strong arm.
But that's why.
Vinny had an arm like that. Craig Erickson had an arm like that. I mean, Miami's had strong arm quarterbacks. Kyle Wright had a decent arm.
Well, this fifth string running back had never seen it before. So the point being, though, he has an NFL arm.
Not a fifth string.
And he had a really strong end to last year. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens with these next games coming up, because if Tyler continues with the accuracy problems, then this is not going to happen, and they probably have to give Jake Garcia a chance so that Jake doesn't leave, and Tyler will come back, and they'll have a legitimate competition in the spring between Tyler and Jake, and whichever one loses probably transfers before fall ball, and it's going to be a mess. So optimally, Tyler plays like the 21st pick in the NFL draft, which is how he's projected right now by Mel Kiper, goes to the NFL, makes a few million, gives me some of that money back that I made for him by covering him as a recruit and getting him so pumped up nationally. And then Jake's the next guy. And then you go from there, right? And that's optimal, because that means Tyler had a good rest of the year. Miami probably had a good rest of the year. And you just, that's the Alabama plan. Great season, move on to the NFL. Next guy comes up, great season, move on to the NFL. That's how you have to do it. Not, this NFL guy turned out to be not so good after all. That's not what you want in your program. And it helps you sell your program when you have guys going in the NFL draft also. And it would be really good if Miami has a couple of first-round picks. Right now, maybe Tyler, maybe Tyreek. I don't think Zion's there. But the more you get in the NFL, the better, because that helps recruiting tremendously. You can't keep having 2 picks at the end of the draft. I mean, that's insane,
Yep. So, listen, Tyler's okay. He's still in a decent place. But the other thing I'll ask you about is some of these guys who want to create a quarterback controversy with Tyler and Jake Garcia. Come on, man. Are you serious? That's the last thing this team needs, is a quarterback controversy and the distractions that brings with it. Okay, Tyler Van Dyke is your quarterback. You're seeing that the top guru who predicts the NFL draft has him as the number 20 pick in the NFL draft in April. Okay, this is a good quarterback. Okay, this is a guy that has a lot of talent. Okay, you want him to be successful and stay the course and be successful. You don't want him being jerked in and out of the game. You don't want him having to go through the whole drama of a quarterback controversy unnecessarily. They can still play Jake Garcia in spots. He has not had an incomplete pass yet this year. I hope we see him in Saturday's game. But there is no question of who is the number one quarterback on this team. Everybody needs to accept that and stop trying to drum up these sideshows on social media and on the message boards and stuff. You're not enhancing, but you're not improving the product. Trust me, you're not making a positive contribution by creating that little noise, because listen, people do hear it, and people do react to it, and they feel it. Okay, that idiot that did the thing to Tyler this week about talking about the playing on the road and home and everything. That guy's comments went viral, Matt, all over the country. that's the world we live in today. So,
yeah, I mean, to me, it's, when you talk about Tyler versus Jake, it's like today I'm supposed to go to Shodell's for lunch and then the Key Club for dinner. Like they're both great. They're both great, but only one of them gives you a Nova and Cucumber Tower.
What's the Key Club?
Oh man, the Key Club has the only reason the first time I went to the Key Club, I said I have to go because the first place I've ever seen in my life that literally lists on the menu bread and has next to it $12, and I'm like, this must be the most amazing bread like ever. It's some kind of rolls, I don't know, from somewhere in New York. And so, I go, we go with some people, and I was so excited to have the bread. I said, give me the $12 rolls. And it was just regular bread, man. Like, I don't get it. But the rest of the food was delicious. They're both here in the Grove. It's in the redone Cocoa Walk area. What do they call it now? Cocoa One Walk, One something. I don't know. I'm an old school guy. Like I used to go get tapas up at the what was the name of that little place there, right next to Fat Tuesdays. That's when I used to go to the Grove. That's how old I am. Was it called? I want to say Two Tangos. Was it called Two Tangos? The place with little tapas.
Oh man, this place looks pretty good. They have lobster rolls and
yeah. I've been there. This is going to be the third time I'm going there. It's not too bad.
Wow, this place looks
it's
good.
Like, listen, it's like I'm so out of place there. It's basically like South Beach comes to this place. This is all South Beach type people. It's these young people dressed to the nines, and I'm there wearing my crocodile shirt, shorts, and bathroom slippers, and it's sort of awkward. And they always try to put me like at the table where nobody can see me,
Oh man, I gotta get out. I gotta get out more often. This place looks good. It kind of scares me. They don't have prices on the menu that's online.
Well, do you see the bread? They don't have a price on the bread.
No, they don't have prices on anything here.
Yeah, it's pricey. It is definitely pricey. There's no doubt about it.
It looks good, man. One of these days, I gotta start experiencing life like Matt Shodell.
It's more the vibe, honestly, than It's all about. Well, for most people, it's about see and be seen. For me, it's how do you hide this guy from anybody seeing him? That's what goes through their mind when they see me coming up there. But that's why most other people go. Yeah.
3 weeks from now, guess what's coming back?
3 weeks.
Matt Shodell, back in action, baby. 3 more weeks. 3.
Woohoo! Sweet.
3 more weeks, he'll be back in action. You ready?
I think you've been watching. I don't know what you thought of the Bachelorette finale that you watched. So closely the other night, but like that's going to be better watching than watching me take stone crabs out of a trap. You should put up highlights of your reaction.
Did you watch The Bachelorette?
Sitting on your living room couch by yourself watching the 3-hour Bachelorette.
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
I saw 10 minutes of it because my wife forced me to.
It is a show that my wife makes me watch with her.
It has to be.
And if I'm going to stay married, I have to fit in at least about 5 or 6 hours of television a weekend. And
let me tell you something. If they were one of your sponsors,
I watched it.
If they were one of your sponsors, then I would say that it's pretty much on par with Life Wallet. That's what I would say. Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. I will say that, man. God, what an asshole that guy was. Oh,
you see, that's the weird thing. That's the part I saw. I said he seems perfectly normal. My wife said, what's wrong with you? He's a jerk. I said he seems perfectly normal for these 10 minutes. Like he's trying to explain he made a mistake. He kissed some chick in a bar. He thought they were broken up. That's all I saw. I didn't see any of the other stuff. Apparently, he was a jerk before that. But those 10 minutes, he was perfectly fine.
That poor little Rachel, and she's a Florida girl, too. Oh, my God. But anyway.
I don't know.
All right, Tyler Van Dyke's okay. He is still projected to go in the first round of the NFL draft. So hopefully he will be able to start playing like it. Hopefully people will start catching some of his balls. All right, other stories on the website today. We've got an analysis of this Middle Tennessee Miami Hurricanes game on Saturday. Middle Tennessee very fired up. I could tell you that they're passing game is decent. They have a couple receivers that Miami would take right now. And Matt, I see this shaping up like the Southern Miss game. I think they're going to hit some plays that might score a few points. But Miami's physicality eventually will take hold, and the Canes will win by 3 touchdowns again. And whether they'll cover what I believe is a 26-point spread, that's Lee Sterling's job. I don't predict that, but I think it'll be tight. I really do. I think there's a reason that the line is 25, because that's, Vegas is pretty good on this stuff.
Listen, I've never been wrong before. Miami's not a happy team. Tyler Van Dyke is out to prove something. Josh Gaddis is out to prove something. They win by 30 plus. Middle Tennessee is not a team you should be worried about.
I hope they throw the ball a lot. I really do.
Middle Tennessee, they can't even make up their minds on what they're called. The school's called Middle Tennessee State, but the team's just called Middle Tennessee. Anybody where that's the dichotomy, you can't even have a close game with that team. It's embarrassing. Like, either it's like, are we called the University of Miami, or is called the University of? It doesn't make any sense. Like, what's your name? Like, literally, that's what they have. The school's Middle Tennessee State, but don't call our football team that. The football team is Middle Tennessee. The Middle Tennessee football team. It's weird, man. I'm not making that up.
But, Lee Sterling on UBet CaneSport, which is still on the website, by the way, for you guys to watch. And another one of our stories, I guess, on the website this morning. I believe he said take the over. So he agrees with you. He thinks that Miami's going to score. And I believe it was the 56 points is the over-under in points, I believe it was. And he said take the over, and that Miami would cover the spread. So we'll see how that goes. All right, other stories on the website today. We got a story on Leonard Taylor, who is absolutely fine with the heavy line rotation. I think he only had 17 reps in the Texas A&M game, Matt. And it's not that he's not making the spectacular play, that the coaches aren't leaving him out there more. It's just that he's hit or miss on whether he's going to execute his responsibilities. And that is not a good thing. That's
so annoying, because I don't cover other teams, but I don't think other teams have these situations where a guy's in the system for 2 years and still doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's a bright young man. I don't understand why the coaches haven't either just let him do what he's doing or just coach him up. I don't know, but it doesn't make sense to me. It's not a guy with his talent level shouldn't be playing 17 out of 58 reps. I mean, that's ridiculous.
It's kind of baffling, because we see the spectacular, but what we're not seeing are the plays where he doesn't do what he's supposed to do and leaves a big hole there in the middle of the line. And I'd have to go back and look at the tape and see if he was responsible for a few of those. They had Texas A&M had 2 or 3 big runs up the middle, 15, 20, 25 yards. And I don't know if that was Leonard Taylor's fault. I would have to go back and look at the tape, like I said. But apparently he is not always doing what he's supposed to do.
I don't care, man. I'm so annoyed at this. This is like how these other previous coaches would put the slower, less physical guy in the field because he knew what to do. Leonard Taylor, when he's on the field, is such a disruptive force that he demands double teams, whether he goes 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction or not. I'm just so sick of this. Let's put in a player who's not as good because, we feel like he knows what he's doing better.
It'll get you beat.
It annoys me. It just annoys me.
I know, but it gets you beat. It does. I understand why coaches...
They got beat anyway.
Yeah, but you
maybe he's got the forced fumble recovery that wins the game last weekend. We'll never know.
I know, but you can't play defense without guys doing what they're supposed to do because everything breaks down. And everybody starts freelancing.
Do you remember back in the day?
Compensate.
I get it, but do you remember back in the day where they'd say, we're playing him. He doesn't know what he's doing, but at least he goes 100 miles an hour, even if it's in the wrong direction. That's an actual quote that the coaches used to say back in the good old days. And no coaches say it anymore because they won't play those guys. So I don't know. There's something to be said for just being better than everyone else and being on the field and just learning from playing. Some guys, they don't show it in practice. And sometimes maybe in the games he's not also showing it. I did not see that on film, honestly, but maybe he's not. But the problem is some players are better in games than in practice. And you don't know until you really let them go in situations where you're not sure they know what to do. And you've got to try it, and you've got, if he's your best guy, leave him out there until it's just obvious that he just has no idea what the hell's going on, because sometimes they just make the offense have so many problems, regardless if they're going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction, and they leave a gap once in a while, maybe, but they're so disruptive. They make the game-changing plays. When's the last time you could say a defensive player made a game-changing play? Because it hasn't happened this year, Gary. And Leonard Taylor is one of the few guys, along with James Williams, on this defense, as good as it's been, that I'd say that's a guy
that has the ability,
who can consistently strip sack, fumble, get a hand up, bat a pass, someone else intercepts it, whatever it is. That's something he can do. I mean, he's got it all. He's got the quickness, the speed, the power, the pass rush from defensive tackle. I mean, there's nothing he can't do except have Kevin Steele apparently trust him to play more than 1/4 of a game.
Are you bothered at all that he's not bothered by only getting 17 reps?
You believe that, Gary? Come on, man. Of course he's bothered by it.
Are you bothered by it?
I just told you I'm bothered by it.
All right. So you're saying he's being politically correct when he says I'm okay with all of it?
Did you expect him to complain? I mean, what do you expect him to say?
Kevin
Steele's wrong. I should be playing. You know what? I wish he did say that. I wish he did say, Kevin Steele's wrong. I should be playing every snap. I am a dominant player on this defense, and I will get 15 sacks if he plays me 80% of the reps the rest of the season. I wish he had said that, because I guarantee you that's what he was thinking when he was asked that stupid question about, do you wish you were playing more?
But then Jake Lichtenstein would never get on the field. All right, we got more to talk about today. A few more stories to talk about, but first let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
I'm Angela Green, and I am Life Wallet.
Since I've had Life Wallet, I have felt more secure to play.
To protect you and your family, download Life Wallet now.
Do they put Miami volleyball games on the ACC network? I feel terrible. I never go see them play.
I did watch the Wisconsin-Florida volleyball, but I did not notice the Miami women's volleyball getting any sort of publicity at all during that game. I don't know why they didn't mention the Miami volleyball team during that match. I mean, very strange.
I think they have a pretty good team. I don't even know when they play and stuff. I mean, I gotta maybe go to a game. I gotta make it an effort to go to one of their games. I want to.
They play where? They play in the night gym, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they need. Last time I was in the night gym, I could barely see my feet in front of me. It was, the lighting is from the 1970s. I'm sure. I hope they've upgraded it since then, but that's probably 5 years ago.
I gotta. I mean, we're not going to cover it because I don't think that's what people want. But I do want to go see them. And the other thing I want to go see is a few of the women's basketball games this year. I'm excited.
Good year.
The Cavender twins. I'll tell you, those girls are so funny. They went to New York Fashion Week, Matt, and they made a video on YouTube about it. It is hysterical. With all they have I guess they have a fashion NIL deal, and they were getting all these clothes thrown at them and stuff. And I don't know, it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks like the volleyball team lost to Illinois, Chicago, UCF, and South Carolina and Oregon. They've lost 4 of the last 5. So maybe wait till they get a little bit of a winning streak, and then you can go see them.
That's not good.
No.
All right. A couple other stories on the site today. We've got a story with offensive lineman Jalen Rivers. Says that the biggest difference this year is the O-line is playing with physicality. So make sure that you check that story out. We've got a story with Will Mallory talking about making big plays and how tight end friendly Josh Gaddis's offense is. Hopefully tight end friendly enough that they figure out a way to use Mallory and Arroyo more often together. They are using them together at times. Arroyo goes in the game sometimes as an H-back, but I want to see some adjustment in getting those guys together down the middle of the field and just getting more involved. I mean, Arroyo to me has gotten really, really good. I mean, he looked like an NFL dude on that one catch at Texas A&M, Matt. They have to get him more involved. I understand Mallory is the dude. He's the guy. He's the leader. He's the older guy. He is the man that is going to get the bulk of the passes on offense right now, and he did the other day, and he I think had 6 catches. Matt Arroyo's got to have more than one. Matt, he's got to have more than one. And we
we talked about this already, but
I
have no problem targeting Will Mallory 10 times. If he's your top guy, I mean, they went to Rambo 10, 12, 15 times some games. You got to identify somebody who's going to consistently catch the ball and consistently present a mismatch. And those 2 guys should be able to. They just haven't really, had the opportunity. Will Mallory, quite honestly, the first 2 games was a non-factor, and they didn't really go to him until the second half last game. So I hope Josh Gaddis can figure out some more innovative ways to get them involved in the downfield passing game.
All right, and we also today have a story on 4-star Georgia wide receiver by the name of DeBron Gatling. He's a 2024 kid. Miami's recruiting him really hard. He knows Josiah the Trader. He knows Jeremiah Smith. Miami is in the market for wide receivers. The next couple years, you're going to see them take 10 to 15 receivers in recruiting. And DeBron Gatling could end up being one of them. Miami wants Trader and Smith really, really bad. There is going to be a major overhaul at receiver in this program. There is no question about it. All right. That is going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport for today. We thank you guys so much for making us part of your morning. We'll see everybody, at least who's here local. I don't think there'll be a lot of people traveling in for this game, but we'll see those of you local out at Hard Rock Stadium on Saturday. We'll have the post-game show Saturday night for you guys. It'll be Bruce Warner, myself, probably a former player this week. Dave Lamont is traveling. And then we will go on to an open week and try to figure out, where to go from there. We'll see how this game goes. But this is a big weekend, I think, just to get a lot of guys playing time, have a convincing victory, work on the passing game. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.